the knowledge is so important, and that's so empowering for us. And for me, yeah,
Awareness,
for
yeah.
me, what it did is it separated because I would do this crazy behavior, right? And I knew in my head, I'm thinking, oh, it's crazy. And the shame would be so deep, and I would be, you're
Yes.
so desperate. And I would just call myself out.
Shame is a big
Oh
part
my
of it.
gosh.
Yeah.
And so once I started to understand this about myself, and I started doing deep dives because I'm realizing, okay, I just got a divorce and I jumped into another relationship. And like I'm jumping from relationship, and
Yeah.
there's something to that.
Without healing those attachments, when you jump in, it just within 6 months to a
Yeah.
year after the honeymoon phase is done, you're
Oh,
back into it. Sorry,
absolutely,
I interrupted you.
absolutely. And so it's just really empowering to first find out what your attachment style is and then go from there. And I'm telling you, it's just for me, it's been a game changer as I'm learning more about trauma and all the nuances of it and realizing, oh, I
Totally.
behaved like that because of that. But having that awareness
Yeah,
is not enough. Now that I'm aware, I've
correct.
got
That's the first
responsibility.
step. Yeah. So what you're talking about is the important piece of healing your attachment wounds is the first step is I'm a victim. They did it to me. How dare they do it to me? I was
Oh yeah.
blameless. I'm powerless. I'm a victim. So that's the first step towards um, healing is owning that, okay, that's where it is. And there's phases of
Sure.
spiritual growth. And we all start as at victimhood, but many people, unfortunately,
Stay.
they stay stuck there.
Mhm.
If you label yourself as a survivor, huge. This is a huge first step. I survived it. Great. Be careful what you identify yourself as. I am a survivor. Anytime you put an I am statement after your name, my name is Nima and I am a survivor, you are now boxing yourself into an identity.
Mm.
And it's very powerful. You will unconsciously seek content, things that keep reinforcing this identity. And so, yes, you survive, but do you want to be 5 years, 10
Yeah.
years into a process and still labeling yourself as a
Yep.
survivor? Because the nervous system of survival is not a healthy one. You will
Oh.
start to develop health issues. You will start to develop reproductive
Mhm.
disorders, digestive
Mhm.
issues, anxiety,
Mhm.
depression, all to validate an identity that you've been giving yourself.
Oof.
So, in order to heal, we must, and there's a lot of research out there that those that are labeled with a
Yeah.
diagnosis, the label itself becomes a
Yes.
cage. So it's a double-edged sword. Oh, thank God I've been labeled PTSD. Oh, thank God I can make sense of the
Mhm.
symptoms. Thank God I have anxious attachment. I now have make sense of it. So there's a certain kind of like, oh, I thought I was crazy.
Yes.
But there's a certain unshaming because it's a really important piece of this healing
Yes.
journey is to unshame. But here's the double-edged sword that happens in healing is the label helps name and make sense of the situation. On one hand, that's a positive, that there's a duality in everything. On the other hand, it it becomes a coffin.
Okay.
You become trapped into this identity. And
Mm.
so nowadays, especially in the woke culture that's coming out, is we are celebrating our
Yeah.
identities in our dysfunctions. Can I state my disabilities? Can I state
Yeah.
my I want everybody to see what I
Yeah.
have. And so it's like this ostentatious display of labels and
Mhm.
identity that our culture has gotten into so that we can then feel like we belong,
Oh,
right?
that's so
This is
true.
when we don't belong, when we feel like we don't belong and we're
Mm.
so dysregulated, there's a relief that we feel when we now get slapped with a label, an identity. I'm the victim. I'm this. Great. Now I belong to something. Now I can make
Mhm.
sense of my life, which is an important part of the recovery. But unfortunately, from the people that reach out, they've just got stuck
Mhm.
there
I've seen
with the
that.
label.
Mhm.
And when you've seen
Mhm.
it, right? And this, how do you know that that person is there? Within seconds of them meeting you, they tell
Yep.
you exactly, I'm celiac, I'm vegan. I'm
Mhm.
this, I'm that. It's like I want like I my identity, I want you to
Right.
know. I'm like everybody, this is what my pronouns are. This is what it's like, this is where the red
Yeah.
flag goes, is that I want everybody to know that this is what my
Mhm.
identity is. And so that's a very important part of the
Mhm.
recovery. But what I've observed is that healing is a journey, and most people, they get
Yeah.
stuck there when you get stuck on a label and an identity. And so, Lisa, what our work then is to do is to then say, okay, that's what happened to
Mhm.
me. The next stage is to say, is to let go of blame, to get out of the blame, because deep down we're blaming
Yeah.
ourselves. And especially in codependency, there's this shameful part of us that is so ashamed of how we showed up that we need the victim label, the identity, the resentment towards that person
Yes.
to help alleviate our
Oh my
shame.
gosh, you need to say that. That is powerful. Oh my goodness.
It's true. The codependent, in order for them to break that cycle, oftentimes they need to lean on the victim story and
Yep.
resentment to absolve them from the shame that deep down they know that a part of them is responsible. They know that they signed up for this. They know that they should have left here,
Yeah.
here, here, and here, but they didn't. And because of that deep down shame, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to take ownership of that. So I'm going to lean into my resentment
Mhm.
of that person to help me avoid my shame that's deep down, which is a short-term gain. But you want to know what the long-term pain of that is?
You stay
Get
stuck.
health
Oh, yeah.
issues,
Yeah, yeah.
because the
Mhm. Yep.
resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person
So
to
true.
die. Show me somebody who's stuck in a victim story, stuck in "it happened to me, poor me," ostentatious pitying, getting everybody to try to, you know, excuse me, sympathize with
Yeah.
everybody, sympathize with me, everybody
Yeah.
look at me, poor me, poor me. That person's an evil person. The short-term gain, you get sympathy.
Right, and
Okay.
attention.
It's a form of narcissistic supply. You get a little bit of
Mhm.
that. Long term, your health will start to
Yes,
deteriorate.
100%.
You will become burnt out. First step is burnt out because you can't sustain that energy of resentment, which is avoidance of shame. Second is you start to get digestive issues. You start to get reproductive disorders. You start to get anxiety, poor sleep, and then everything just falls apart. Anxiety, depression, digestive, uterine, and reproductive
Mhm.
disorders. Um, one of my clients, one of my students that came to the overview experience, was dealing with a toxic relationship situation. He was dealing with rectal kind of like colitis,
Mm.
like like a burning in his rectum, like a
Ooh.
pain in his ass.
A real one.
Literally, literally. So the body then starts to manifest dysfunction as a sign that you've been holding on to shit,
Yeah.
holding on to stuff, and there's no freedom in that. So, this is where, as a healthcare provider, my concern is helping people rewire that identity and go into the next one, from beyond victimhood to manifester to
Yeah.
channeler, and say, how did I co-create this? Not with fault, not with
Curiosity.
blame, but just feel the shame of, God, I can't believe that I showed up that way. I can't believe, how could I have reacted the way that how did I just abandon myself when how did I ignore all those red flags? How did I stay so long when it was all the point, everything was pointing, everybody was telling me, what the heck are you doing, Nima? And I had to sit and just feel all the shame of that. And then the next step from that, Lisa, is to unshame and to really help bring compassion towards the younger parts of you that were simply trying to get their needs met with that person outside of them as an unconscious attempt to complete what was incomplete in your
Mhm.
childhood.
Mhm.
And that's not something to blame, that's not something to lay fault in, it's just something to bring compassion towards.